The next thing to do now is to insert your slab. How do you do that? You go to this menu, you look for slab. This is slab. You left click on it. Then the slab property menu opens. Now when you get there, these are things you need to do. First of all, select the slab type. Now if you check, you see that slab 1 is the type that have support, beam supports all round. Then slab type 2 have beam supports in 3 directions, this way, this way. So you just look at it, you check the type of slab you want to create. Here I'm working with slab type 1 because every beam I'm creating here have support all around it. Now I come to, this is the slab, depth of the slab. I'll use 6 inches, 150. Now I'll have my concrete cover to be 25. You know how to determine this using BS 8110. Of course, we are doing this design with BS 810. You check the part 1 of this video, you see that when we started, we actually shows BS code 8110. So you can determine this thing from that code. Now the next thing to do is, this is angle. Assuming your angle is inclined, your slab is inclined, we're not inclined, slab is not inclined. The next thing to do is go to load. This is the dead load and this is the imposed load factors. Now I will go to this for my dead load. Can go with that of the rooms, corridor or stairs, or enter any value if I have determined this through my code, but I'll just go with that of rooms because this is a residential building. Now for imposed load, you can just write, if you click on it so that your cursor is in the menu, in the box, then you right click. So once you right click, you see different multiplication factors for life load depending on what you are doing. Are you getting? So I'll just go for general domestic use because this is general domestic, this build is for general domestic use. Now after I'm done with that, the next thing I should do is I go to insertion. This menu will come out. If you go to insertion, there are different ways you can insert your beam. Axis region, beam region, you pick the axis or you pick the point. Now if I start using axis region now, it will be very difficult for me. If you check now, I selected axis region. Let me show you now. See what is called within any defined axis, to just stop between it. If you go for beam region, it's going from beam all around the beam region. Now you can start picking axis or whatever. The beam region works for me here. Assuming, unless I'm creating cantilevered slabs, then I can go for axis region. Once I select the beam region, I close. Now I go into the different beam regions and I left click. Once I left click, my slab will be created. See, this is 1S3. This is 1 slab 3, depth 150. You see, this is 1 slab 4, depth 4. Just like that. I go in, I click on every portion of this, and that will create my slab. Now after I'm done with this, I close this menu. Of course, if you look, you see this update. In case there is a particular slab that have a different cover or a different depth from the rest, or is of different type, if I come there, like this slab is selected already, this slab now is selected, so I can just click here, change the type, click here, change the depth, whatever I need to do. I get it. Once I finish doing all of it, I'll click update. Let me say, for instance, I want this slab now to have a depth of 300 for some reason. Now concrete cover of 25, no problem. All I need to do is update. Once I've clicked this update, check, see here, the slab has been updated. It's now depth of 300. It's no longer 150. But for the sake of this our design, we're maintaining 150 because we don't have any reason to make it 300. So once we are done with that, you close this menu. Now the next thing to do is to load your walls. We have what we call wall beam load, beam wall load. Sorry, have what we call beam wall loads. These are loads coming from walls on top of that beam. So you get me? You know, when you're done with your slab, then you have walls on top. Then the load of those walls on these beams. I get it. That is what we call wall beam loads. Then we normally have it if we're designing a story building. You know, a building that have floors on top of it. Then that's when we start doing this. Now if you're not designing a building that has such, then normally for me, you can use this wall load, this beam wall load to depict the loads of the roof. I guess now let's assume our design now have other floors on top of it. Let's say we have repeated floor, just this particular floor on top of it now. So I will just click on any of the beams. I will left click on it, then I'll right click. Then I'll go to edit beam wall load. So once I go there, first of all, you go to wall, you see this drop down menu, then you choose the type of wall you're using. You know, we have different wall blocks or bricks we use for building. Now I'm using external wall, that's the normal 9 inches block. Or if you have the value of whichever one you're using, then you can enter the value directly here. Now, but I will use external walls. So once I get there, the next thing to do is select the wall height. Let's say it's 3 meters. If yours is greater, you insert it 3 meters. Sorry, 3 meters. This is 3 meters already. Now, with this 3 meter, this is the dead load of that wall on this beam. Then, assuming the wall have openings like windows or doors, then you can indicate them here. Let's say you have a 4-foot door that has is 1.2 meters. Then with the height, let's say the height is 225 or 2250, depending. Say 2.25. Now you see that once we introduce this opening, the dead load decreased. I get now that if it's another opening, let's say window opening, that means walls are not covering there. So add it here. This will come to give you what it's supposed to be giving you. Now, after you've done all these ones now, then you just say okay. If you check, you see that the color of this particular beam has changed. It shows that the beam wall load has already been introduced. That's the wall load on this beam has already been introduced. Now, let's assume that all these walls have the same. I just said assuming this floor is just repeated on the first floor. This is the ground floor plan. Let's say the first floor is just a replica of this. So that means at every point of this wall load, existing walls already, will still have wall loads on the beams. So while this is selected, select this, right click. That is if you want to copy this wall load on this beam to all the beams here. So if you select this, you right click, then you go to copy beam wall load. Now you've copied it. Now next thing you want to do is to select all the beams. How do you select all of them? You have two methods of selecting. You can click on this, hold control, click on another beam, hold control, click on another one, but that will take time. So the fastest way to do is just hold control shift, then go to one side of the left hand side, left click and drag until this box covers the whole beams you have in this drawing. So once you have covered the whole of the drawing, then the next thing you want to do is click on beams, say okay. If you select all the beams, then next thing you want to do is to right click and say paste copied beam loads. Paste copied beam loads, just yes, paste copied beam loads. Now if you see, the beam load has been pasted in all of this. The beam load has been pasted now on all of the beams. Now assuming there are few beams that don't have wall load on them, you just need to select them. Just select the one after the other. Select this, hold control, select the other one with control, hold control, select the other one, then right click and just say delete beam wall load. Now you can see the beam wall load for these beams are selected has been removed. That's why they are plain now, they are no longer colored. You see, so this is it about creating of that slab and then loading the beams with the wall loads.